So what does a confident introvert look like? So it's kind of a contradiction. They might not say the most, they're not the biggest talker, but when you're speaking to them, they can make you feel like you're the only person in the world. They're not always trying to be the center of attention, but when they step in a room, everyone notices. They have this strong presence about them. They're always projecting this quiet, confident energy, this self-assurance. Even when they're not necessarily trying, everyone's still coming up to them. Like, everyone loves to be around them. So not to put myself on the pedestal, but I feel like this is something I've mastered over the years. From going from being a kid with no social skills, who just stayed in his room all the time, didn't have many friends, to having quite a rich and fulfilling social life, being able to make friends and strike up conversations with strangers wherever I go, and all without having to change who I am as a person. Like, I am fundamentally still quite an introverted guy, but now it's something that I just own. I accept it as part of my personality. So I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to tell you the 3 ways that I became a confident introvert. So the first point or general reminder that I've got to give you is, if you're an introvert, I don't want to hear any excuses from you. So what do I mean by that? I probably don't have to tell you that there is nothing wrong with being an introvert, from being an individual who is energized in his own company. Like, that's still very much how I am. And it's also an unfortunate truth that society is heavily biased towards extroverts, and there is the research and scientific backing to support this. Like, extroverts are more likely to make more money or get jobs over introverts. It's just an unfortunate fact of life. And that might have you believing that you need to be this extroverted person, or someone who can just talk for days to get ahead in life, to become a winner. And I would very much urge you not to do that, because playing a character, trying to be someone who you're not, isn't just very unsustainable. It's just draining. It will drain you of all your energy having to wear that mask 24/7. So as I've done as someone on the more introverted side, I'd always advise anyone in my position to embrace their introvertedness. If that's your natural personality, like, you should own it, like, lean into it. But on the flip side, never let your introvertedness become an excuse, something which you use to get out of challenging yourself and growing as a person. So this was a massive problem for me when I was younger. I had this reputation of being a quiet kid. Like, regularly at school, people would be calling me out for being so quiet. Like, why are you so quiet, bro? Why do you never say anything, Tom? And in my head, I'm thinking, like, well, this is kind of just who I am. Like, that's, what kind of question's that? That's not something I can change. And to an extent, that's true, but having to hear that over and over again, it really internalized this belief that I'm this quiet person. That's just how it is. That's just how it will ever be. And as I got older, that became this coping mechanism for me, for why I didn't have many friends, for why I look to avoid social situations, for why I don't go to parties or meet girls. It's because I was an introvert, when really that wasn't my problem. I was using my introvertedness to mask the fact that I was extremely socially anxious. And this is a mistake that I still see so many people making. They will excuse themselves from challenging and stressful situations because they're an introvert. Really, they're just socially anxious or out of practice, and doing it would be the best thing for them. So a really important insight I had was that being an introvert is not something you should look upon as a limitation. It's not that I can't talk to people or go out there and make friends and connections easily. It's just that I approach it in a different way to an extrovert. I'm not charging headfirst into conversations. I'm not trying to be the center of attention. Instead, I listen attentively to what the other person is saying. I take time to formulate my response and then give a more thoughtful, structured answer. And I often find that that leads to higher quality connections than maybe an extrovert would have. And you know what? I fucking love that about myself. So stop with all this negative self-talk, stop with all the excuses. Never put limits on what you're capable of achieving. Don't hide behind this label of, oh, I'm an introvert, and use it as an excuse to say you're less than capable of doing something that an extrovert is. Remember that confidence is not something which is magically gifted. It's something which has to be earned. Which leads me on to the second point. To truly become confident, you have to prove that you are who you say you are. So some people live their entire lives just constantly being told how great they are. Like, think back to school. The most popular, the most confident kids were always the ones who were good at sports. They were constantly getting validated by the teachers, by the other kids, the coaches. Everyone just telling them how great they are. And for better or worse, all of that validation, it works. Like, it does make someone confident. But then for someone like me, I was never particularly good at sports. I wasn't that great academically. I was always this average student. So outside of my parents, I didn't really have that support network. People telling me how great I was or giving me that validation. I never particularly felt like I was good at anything. And I know a lot of other people went through this as well, but really imagine for a second what that would do to a person. Like, that belief that they're not good at anything. They're just gonna have zero fucking confidence. They're not gonna be daring or bold or try new things because they're deep down they believe they're gonna fail and embarrass themselves. So if this is sounding a little bit familiar to you, you have two options in this situation. So you can either complain, you can either start whining about how your parents didn't give you enough praise or validation when you were younger, boo-hoo, life's unfair, or you can stop searching elsewhere. Stop looking for that validation from somewhere else and give it to yourself. And what I mean by that is to convince yourself that you are a fucking G, that you're worthy as every bit as much confidence as those popular kids or any extroverts in your life. You deserve all of that and more. But just how do we do that? Because this isn't something that you can just like switch on. This isn't speaking to your reflection in the mirror, telling yourself how great you are. That doesn't work because your mind has this built-in bullshit detector. It knows when you're lying to yourself. You know, the guy who never sticks to his words, he will never truly be confident because he sees himself as a quitter. It is deeply ingrained into his self-image and he hasn't given himself any evidence to the contrary. But the guy who shows up every single day, keeps pushing himself into those uncomfortable situations, even when he isn't feeling the best, even when he isn't feeling confident, will begin to see results through sheer persistence alone. And when you see those results, when you start racking up those small wins, that's when you begin to see yourself in a different light. That's when you have your evidence, your proof that you are that guy, because true confidence comes through competence. The more you prove yourself to be reliable, capable, and consistent when it comes to taking action, the more you'll trust yourself and the more you'll be able to walk into any situation with that natural confidence to just be unfazed. And as I've alluded to, the best way to practice that without getting into too many specifics, and also the third point I'm gonna make, is to follow your fear every single day. This is one of the best guiding philosophies for life that I can think of. Like, I can't think of a single area where this would not be relevant. It could be fitness, it could be dating, it could be making money. If you want to make insane progress in a short amount of time, the only thing you need to do is chase that fear, to do something that you are afraid of each and every single day. If I'm coming on here and telling you how to become more confident, if I'm in that position to give advice, I want you to know that I'm really out here living and growing. Like, I really practice what I preach. And I promise you right now, I am pushing myself so hard in these social situations. I'm literally going to the city every single weekend by myself to confront those fears, like really getting out of my own head, forcing myself to speak to strangers, putting myself in those uncomfortable situations and getting rejected, getting super embarrassed. But at the end of the day, proving that I can handle it. All of this fear that I'm experiencing, even though it's so physically uncomfortable, even though it makes my chest all tight, like I can't breathe, even though it sometimes makes me feel like I want to puke, it does not control me. And that is a skill you're gonna have to develop. Like, being completely honest, you won't want to do it most of the time. Like, you could be the most extroverted fucking male model or something, and you're still gonna hesitate when it comes to going up to a 10 out of 10 goal. But keep in mind, this is like exposure therapy for your comfort zone. Like, it will get easier, but only if you can be bothered to do it. And it probably will be fucking shit in the beginning, but if you do it enough times, you will desensitize yourself to that discomfort. And every time you act against that fear, regardless of the outcome, you've just given yourself proof that you are who you say you are, that you are an action taker, that you're a man of your words, that you can do things that most people are scared of doing. And believe it or not, your brain will hold on to that. Like, anytime I go into a situation that I might have felt a little bit scared or uncomfortable in before, my brain will unconsciously signal to my body that I am okay, because it knows I've been through more stressful situations than whatever this is. And because of that, I can truthfully say, I can do things like walk into a room full of 100 people that I don't know, 100 strangers, and easily make friends. Like, I'm not just saying that. I could easily come out on top in that situation. Like, I just want you to have these almost delusional levels of belief in yourself, coming from someone who was just so reclusive, who hid behind that mask of being an introvert, to where I'm at now. Like, I honestly can't wait to show you some of the things that I'm talking about in action, like actually get out there and film some of this stuff. That's the direction that I want to take this channel in. But yeah, to wrap this up, if you're an introvert, if you're someone who was in that similar position to me, and you want to learn how to speak to people, to communicate better, to make more friends, I'd highly suggest you join my Discord server down below. I've been on this really long and painful journey when it's come to my social skills, and what I would have loved when I was a little bit younger was just someone to tell me if what I was doing was right, or someone to give me advice on what I could be doing better. So that's why I created this supportive network of guys who genuinely give a fuck, who genuinely want to help you overcome your problems. And I'll be there to advise you on any specific problem you're encountering with social skills, or really any other realm of life that you need help with. Like, I'm extremely active, and not to mention this community is completely free. You genuinely lose nothing for being a part of it. So I'd highly urge you to join through the link in the description. I would absolutely love to have you there. But that is all from me today, bro. I will see you in the next one.